On April 2nd, 2025, President of United States Donald Trump announces that he is going to impose tariff on foreign imports to his country. Now what exactly is tariff? You hear the word tariff, 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 but what exactly it is? It is simply an economical tool used when there is an economical war. It is simply US and China are going to war economically. US government is imposing a certain percentage of tax on Chinese product. Chinese government is imposing a certain percentage of tax on US product. So it is an economical war. So why is suddenly Donald Trump increasing tariff to the world? So we are going to primarily focus on India, China and US. Of course, US and China are the major player when it comes to imports and exports. So what is tariff? Let me give you an example. Let's take there is United States and there is China. There is a manufacturing company in China. Let's take, so what exactly is tariff? Let me give you an example. There is US and there is China, and in China there is a manufacturing company that manufactures smartphone. Now once it manufactures this smartphone, it cannot directly sell this smartphone to the people in United States. It needs a distributor. So that's where the Walmart comes into place. So those are the distributor. So this distributor, they will purchase the smartphone for whatever the price. Let's take for $100. They purchase it for $100. The distributor will purchase this smartphone for $100. Now, if they want to sell it to the people of United States, they won't be just selling it for the same $100. What's profit? What's business? So they will sell the same smartphone for $150. Do you understand? They will sell it for $150 so that they will get a $50 profit. The distributor will get $50 profit. This is when there is 0% tariff. Now what happens when there is 34% tariff? It is very simple. The manufacturing company in China will manufacture as usual the Samsung or any product, the smartphone, and they will sell it for $100 to the distributor. Now the distributor, this time there is a 34% tariff. Now what happens? The distributor has to pay $100 and there is a 34% tariff. So it is $34 extra distributor needs to pay. So it's total of $134. $100 is paid for the Samsung, any Chinese smartphone, and the $34 is paid as a tax to the US government. So for total, the distributor who used to buy the smartphone for $100, now the same distributor is buying the Samsung or buying the smartphone for $134. Now imagine if the same distributor who purchased the Samsung or smartphone for $134, if he decides to sell it for $150 to the customer, he won't be getting any profit. How much would he get? $16? No, he wants the same $50 profit. So he will increase the price to $184 to the customer. So customer has to pay more. That's how it works. So what happens when a product suddenly the price increases? Customers, they tend to react, right? Hey, I used to pay for this smartphone for $100. Now it is expensive. So many people, many customers will look for second opportunity. They will look for the alternative. They will look for less expensive, affordable Samsung or less expensive, affordable smartphone that is available in US. So what happens? Primarily the industries, the manufacturing companies that are producing Samsung or smartphones, made in USA smartphones, that those Samsung, those smartphones will be sold more. So that is the idea behind tariff, to grow the domestic companies, to grow the US companies and bring in more opportunity. Because once there is demand, once everyone is purchasing the product, there will be demand and supply needs to be there, right? The companies needs to manufacture more Samsung, more smartphones. So it will expand across US. It will have multiple branches, multiple factories manufacturing smartphones. When that happens, employment opportunity is created. So all of a sudden, if you combine with multiple branches, with the employment opportunity growing, the GDP of US grows. That is the idea behind tariff. That is the purpose behind tariff, to grow our domestic industry first. Now, why is China overreacting, or is China over? I don't think so. China is actually overreacting. This time they are very, very bold, and they made a strong statement, right? Because the last update is they are imposing 125% tariff on US product. Initially, when Trump announced, it was 34% tariff on China and 26% tariff on India. When the company in China, as usual, manufactures the Samsung, let's say 100 units of Samsung is being sold to US. Now all of a sudden, customers in US are not ready to buy the product because it is expensive. Now the manufacturing company, there's no point in manufacturing 100 units when nobody is buying it, when less people are buying it. So the production decreases. When production decreases, the demand is no longer there. The manufacturing company in China that has multiple branches, there are so many employees, let's say 100 to 500 employees. Because of the reason where the Samsung or the smartphone is not being sold, the supply is no longer there, the demand is no longer there, there's no point in manufacturing more Samsungs. So employment opportunity, do you understand, in China, because of that unemployment rises, because there's no point in hiring more workers. You can just manufacture 50 smartphones instead of manufacturing 100 smartphones. We only need 50. So we don't need more workers. The company will downsize the workers. That will hit the GDP of China. Do you understand? This is the economical war. But there's a reason why Trump is doing this. There is a reason. Because let me give you a statistics. Last year, do you know how much revenue did China gets from exporting its product to US? It would be mind blowing. It would be mind blowing, the numbers. I'll tell you this. $438.9 billion USD. It is generated just exporting the Chinese product into US. You know, it's semiconductor, the major role. Chinese, they produce semiconductors, furniture, toys. I have to respect the Chinese because they are silently building, they are silently producing, they are silently want to become the producer of the world. Do you know how powerful it is when you become the producer of the world? Because there are producers and there are consumers. Consumers are totally dependent on producers, right? So when China becomes the producer of the world, it has total control over other countries. Every single nation is relied on China. That's the goal of China. Manufacture, produce. You buy from us, you buy from us. That is what China is doing. That is the goal of China. I will tell you this, in future, the companies, the multinational companies that own air and water will control the world, will control you. At the same time, where we are going, the world is heading towards technology. Technology needs semiconductor. Any nation you take, banking sector, defense, manufacturing, your smartphone, every single thing, semiconductor is there. Without semiconductor, you cannot manufacture. You cannot create that thing I mentioned. So semiconductor is the water for technology. If a human does not have water, he cannot survive. At the same time, if a device, if a technology does not have semiconductor in it, it cannot survive. So imagine China is the largest producer of semiconductor. Because of that, they have power already. And like I said, they generate $438.9 billion last year. Do you know how much US generated by exporting the US product to China? Do you know how much it is? $143.5 billion. It's a very less amount. I mean, billions are a very, 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 very high amount. But if you look in terms of China and US, the numbers are very less. Its trade deficit for US, $143.5 billion USD. And what do they export? Fuels, oil, agricultural products like soya beans, corn, industrial equipment like titanium, aluminium, something like that. So last year US got a revenue of $143.5 billion. Just like that, consider China last year was able to make $438.5 billion. And if you are a leader to a country, you will be looking at this data and you got to be kidding. There's something wrong happening. I mean, the world, we are making, every nation is sucking the resources from our country and we are not able to get back anything that we want. If you are a leader to a nation, that's exactly what you will be thinking, right? So I think that's what tariff is there. Every country uses it, and that's the purpose of being whole tariff. But right now, Trump has announced, after China's announcement, that Chinese officials, they have said like there will be 125% tariff on US products. So then Trump announced he will be holding this tariff for 90 days, but except for China, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, he announced that there will be 145% tariff on Chinese product. For rest of the world, we are holding it for 90 days, but for China it is 145% tariff. So it's an economical war they are playing. Do you know how much India got revenue from exporting the Indian products to America last year? It is $87.4 billion. India, 1947 was India. But right now in 2025, in geopolitical level, India has a strong stand. It has the capability to become the superpower nation. So it is slowly building. India is slowly building. And why it is silent? I think sometimes the best response is to no response at all. To deal in a diplomatic manner internally. So that's why you don't see any public statement. But if you look US export to India, how much US government made, it is only $41.75 billion. Even here, United States is getting less amount. So that is the problem here, that US is going into trade deficit. every country is getting resources from us and we are not getting any resources. This has got to be bad. And you have to imagine America and China. America is the superpower now, and America don't want China to be in a position of power, to replace US and become the supreme power. So that is why US is doing anything it could do to displace China. So like I said, this is Bold and Strong, and I have a Twitter channel where I discuss about geopolitics, finance, self-improvement. And if you have Twitter, you can join. And what do you think about this tariff? Is the India's no response a good response? And what do you think of Trump's tariff plan to China?